Now we have to understand the operations after purchase, right? So how am I going to manage this thing? So you have a bunch of options. You can self-manage, you can do a property manager, you can have an agent or a property manager just simply lease the property for you, where they just screen the tenants and take the applications and do all the lease paperwork and then hand you a completed package, and then you go manage it, month to month, day to day. So there's a bunch of different options as far as management, but some things to keep in mind when you're managing the property is this. Tenants always call at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, even when the thing broke on a Wednesday, which I'm sort of kidding, but it's kind of true. The point is when you are self-managing, you have to be available for these tenants, pretty much around the clock. They'll hit you up at odd hours for the weirdest things, or if there's an emergency, you have to be able to drop everything you're doing and address a flood, a fire, a situation of that nature. So the operation, you either have to have someone managing it or be in a position to manage it yourself, because things do pop up when you least expect it. When it comes to the operations, you basically want to be able to handle it from beginning to end. You or a manager or a combination of the two. And this is basically what it looks like. So I've purchased my rental property. I need to understand what the market rents are, so I can maximize my market rents. Not enough people do that. And I also need to raise my rent consistently to stay up with market, because if you don't do that, it can cause problems for your valuation, and it can also cause problems with trying to bring rents up in the future, because we have rent cap rules in California. Get with your local real estate professional to determine what they are in your area and how they affect you. But the point is you have to stay up with market rents. I can't express that enough. So making sure that we're understand what market rents are, advertising in the appropriate channels to get quality applicants in, making sure we're interviewing the potential tenants, understanding the application, understanding the total package of what they're bringing to the table economically and personally. Then you want to do the proper lease, have the proper lease paperwork in place, proper disclosures. Do you have your bed bug disclosures? Do you have your military-based disclosures? Do you have your all these different things that are required above and beyond just a lease, at least here in California? Your local mileage may vary. So make sure that you are working with someone or have the wherewithal yourself to make sure that you are giving all the proper disclosures to the tenant and getting an airtight, high quality lease in place, because everybody's friends at the handshake, and then 2 years later you forgot that you were friends, and all of a sudden the landlord and the tenant are pissed at each other. You need a high quality document to protect you, and that's what the lease does. So make sure that you are using lease language and disclosures and things of that nature that are up to date today. So then you get the tenant signed up, lease in place. Now they're in the property and doing their thing, and you need to have ideally a team of professionals available to you. You have to have cash savings for maintenance, right? What if the water heater goes out? What if the heater goes out? The toilet stops working? The light bulb needs to be changed? Yes, I have gotten phone calls for light bulbs. Hey, my light bulb's out. It happens. So to have, maybe you don't need a light bulb person, but having a plumber, having a contractor, having a heating and air guy, having all these different, a roofer, all these different trades people in your network that you can quickly and easily go to, and that they are quality and that they're priced right, that's an important piece of the puzzle as well. And then having the money in savings to pay those people and to cover those repairs when those things happen is a big part of your operations as well. Beyond that, there is tenant risk as well. Tenant loses their job and stops paying. If you're mortgaged, are you going to be able to make the mortgage in the event that they're not paying? And if they're not paying, do you have the ability to negotiate and the wherewithal? Do you know how to execute a cash for keys agreement? Or do you have a high quality attorney in place to help you with evictions, vacancies, things of that nature? Because these things do happen. So many people get into the investing game and they totally ignore all the risk, but there is risk when you have a tenant in a property. If a tenant stops paying rent, you have to make the mortgage and pay an attorney, and if it takes months to do that, the returns that you made on the first half of that lease can be destroyed by an unruly tenant really quickly. So make sure, again, you're screening high quality tenants, you're using high quality documents, you're working with professionals, and so you have a plan in place to avoid things like evictions, like major vacancies, things of that nature. Let's say there is no issue with the tenant, but they just leave at the end of the year. Everything was great, everything worked out the whole time. Like, okay, we're moving across the state. Now you need to get a new tenant in there. Do you have a plan in place to keep your vacancies as short as possible? Because again, if you go 1 month with the place empty, that's a mortgage payment. That could be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 that's out of pocket. So do you have a plan in place to basically move from one tenant to the next. If the property needs repairs, do you have the ability and the people to, and an operation to turn it over quickly, get it cleaned up, get it repaired, and get the next person in there so you can, again, limit vacancies, which is a huge part of the cost of rental properties. So at the end of the day, investing in rental properties can be a great way to build wealth. There's a lot of opportunity there, but we have to make sure that we do our due diligence, that we're buying in the right area, that we understand, what we're doing with regards to the condition, is it turnkey or not, that we really understand our money metrics and how to structure financing in a way that's most beneficial to us, and that we know how to operate it once we acquire the property and do so in a professional fashion. If this is something that interests you, definitely make sure that you're working with your real estate professional, your finance people, or experienced people who have done it before. If you're in San Diego and you have more questions, concerns about this topic, we'd love to work with you and walk you through it. Investing in rental property is a great way to build wealth and potentially steady income, as long as you do it right and do your due diligence in those 4 areas.